Which is why.
I mean, admitting your wife is.
Oh my God, bro! Did you not? Are you really gonna just do this? Oh, sorry. Yeah. You do TikTok streams. Hello.
I know. I'm sorry.
We went over it yesterday. We went over it before the show today. So I think, also that's like incredibly, like a total buzzkill thing to say at the beginning of the stream.
Well, I mean,
like to say. Hold on.
Sure. Go ahead.
So we have other panelists here. I think it's incredibly disingenuous to just say that he grapes his wife without providing the fuller context of that conversation. Yeah. Mind you, you must have missed the part where Rachel was continuously chiming in through the show, where she's consented to, like, she wakes him up with certain acts, he wakes her up with certain acts.
Well,
you want to insert a buzzword to try to paint this man as a predator and a criminal, and I think that's absolutely despicable, especially at the start of a dating discussion show. I'd like you to apologize to Andrew.
I apologize for my language.
No, it's not your language. I want you to apologize for your mischaracterization, because categorically, that's not what he is.
Did he not say
that? Categorically, that's not what he is.
But here's the thing.
I saw
did you say that?
and I don't think you were graping your wife.
No, well, no, right? So this is the problem. Is like you can just definitionally. So women named Kinsey who drink water are grapists. By that definition, aren't you a grapist? Yes, right? So that's what you do. You definitionally will say, you and every other normal American married couple on planet Earth will oftentimes wake each other up with sex. It's like, it's the most ridiculous thing anybody's ever. They were laughing at you because it's so ridiculous.
I don't think it's ridiculous that one aspect of engaging with someone when you're having sex is that they're conscious.
Oh, anybody here?
I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Ever been in a couple relationship where one of you woke the other one up with sex? Anyone? No? Just me and you? That's it?
Wow.
I ask.
It's good to make sure.
Yeah. Like if you're married to the other person.
Before you do that.
Why do you want them to be unconscious?
I mean, I don't like my wake. I'm not literally. I don't have the device that puts it in. But I wake them up in ways to suggest that I want it, and then
to suggest that you want it, or you actually are. Like forcing penetration while they're unconscious.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That'd be pretty hard.
So funny.
You would have to have a lot of intent to.
Seems like she walked it back.
No, I mean, most people in those situations, there's like groping and stuff. They don't usually put it straight on in when they. I don't know how to explain it.
That's what I was thinking.
They only SA you while you're asleep then. They don't.
If it's in her
what do they do?
definition
what
of SA,
are they just grabbing a boob?
You can't. Like, I don't personally. My boundaries in a relationship, I'm okay with that. If someone is not okay with that, then it is SA, and
So I'll explain it like this, I guess, really simply. If you have given consent to your girlfriend, hey babe, I would like you to, and I will allow you to wake me up with a BJ. Her position is that woman has just now committed a felony. Would you guys agree that she should be then arrested and placed, I mean, she doesn't believe in prison. Should she then be placed in prison? A girlfriend, your boyfriend says, hey babe, I'd like you to wake me up with a BJ. You fully have my consent. She thinks that that's SA. She thinks that that's a felony.
I don't agree with that.
No, let's let the panel answer.
I can see where she's coming from. Like,
how are you serious?
No, I'm not saying. I can see what she's trying to say. Like, she would want like her partner to be awake or her be awake before like having sex.
Well, that's fine if that's her standard for her relationship.
Do you think consent should be reversible?
But it's not. If they say no and they keep going, that is.
You're saying if I my girlfriend.
I'm just asking. Do you think an aspect of consent is that it's reversible?
So
it is reversible.
Are you saying that if I
How can you reverse it if you're unconscious?
If he's doing it and you wake up and you don't want to, then just be like, I don't feel like it, and have him stop.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I mean, imagine like imagine you wake up and your boyfriend is having sex with you.
I don't think it starts like that.
you would
First,
wake
it's
up,
like touching.
That for me
like-
would feel
I don't have to
very-
imagine it.
Unless
I
you're
do
on
it all the
drugs or
time.
something.
Very
I think it's
violating
funny.
if he has been.
I don't think you would
penetrating
sleep
me
through
one
that
time.
unless you're on
missing the
drugs.
Why do you conveniently omit and exclude the portion where there has been consent given?
Why are you not answering
And
my
how about
question
you answer my
when it
question?
comes to
I'm the
should
host.
consent be revocable?
I know I don't have the mute button like you do on your TikToks, but I'm the host, so you're going to answer my question. Go ahead.
So
In the
what-
same way that you bully people in your TikToks, you're going to answer my question. Go ahead.
I'm answering your question.
And I'd
Usually
be
when
much-
you ask a question, you stop talking so someone can answer it.
Go ahead.
So when we look at aspects of consent, I don't think it's just based on being agreeing to an action. There are other aspects of consent when it comes to sex. And one of it is that consent is reversible. If you're unconscious, you can't reverse your consent.
What about a will?
What about will?
A will. Can somebody will you their stuff?
Yes.
I don't understand. They're not conscious. What about their consent?
We're talking about consent when it comes to sex. Obviously, there are going to be different standards when it comes to different aspects that you're agreeing to. Like even medical procedures require an aspect of informed consent. Sex
Well, how do
has
you-
different
how do you
aspects
give
of consent.
somebody the-
Contracts have different aspects.
Yeah, how do you give somebody the ability to make medical decisions for you?
I mean, if you're a power of attorney.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
then you're agreeing that this person, when you're not conscious, can do things with your body.
Sure.
Why
when it
can't you
comes
do
to-
that
when it
with your
comes
wife when it comes to
medical-
sex?
When it comes to medical procedures, yes.
Why can't you
when
do that
When it
with-
comes to sex,
Yeah.
because I just believe that you have to have that aspect of it being reversible.
Totally inconsistent. How is it that a person can be unconscious on a table?
Again, there are
they're
different
still
standards when
alive?
it comes to different aspects.
Well, I know that there's different standards, but in order to be consistent,
Yes.
if the one
I
standard
don't
is there,
think no.
yeah, if the one
There
standard is
there
there,
doesn't have to be consistent standards for every single situation.
oh, so you just have
can
inconsistent
be-
standards. That's what you're saying.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
I do think sex has certain conditions that should be required.
Why?
And I
'Cause
don't
you just
know
think so?
why.
You just think so?
Being reversible is unreasonable, or being conscious is
Reversible
like,
would be
it's
she wakes
state-
up after she gave you consent and then says stop. That would be reversible consent.
Well, if she's not conscious, she doesn't have the capacity to reverse.
She
it.
already
gonna
gave you
wake
the
up.
consent, just like
You're gonna
can't stay
wake up
asleep.
during sex unless you're on
people
drugs
wake
or
up
something.
with like
can
slight
stay
noises,
asleep.
like, oh my god,
So
I feel like
imagine
I heard someone walking.
if you're
like,
having
they wake
sex
up.
while you're drunk and then you pass out in the middle. Is there any kind of
I've done
ethics
that.
on continuing to go, like continuing?
No, yeah, being unconscious like after
Then don't
drinking,
keep going. That'd be weird.
That's different.
Well, I mean, you already got consent.
That's different. That's like a whole different like scenario. Like if you're
I
being
mean,
woken up,
it's not.
and you're
You've already
sober.
gotten consent. I just don't know why it's such a crazy take that when you're having sex with a partner that they're conscious.
because
Like,
No,
because
being-
it's an
absolutely
inconsistent.
wild.
being drunk, being like too drunk and you pass out, that's just different from like.
Well, let me
being
ask you this:
asleep.
she's asleep,
Like,
and
you
you reach
didn't
over
choose to fall
when you're
asleep,
spooning
you got
her,
so drunk
and you
you
just
passed
grab a
out. Like,
handful of the chest. Is that SA?
No.
Why not?
I think when we're talking about essay within this specific context, like,
She can't consent.
She
If
was
I reached
talking about
over
the
and-
one act of putting something in while
Yeah,
the
but
other
why-
person is unconscious.
That, again, this is totally
again,
inconsistent.
I think there can be differences between like unwanted touches or unwanted affection versus engaging in sex when your partner's unconscious.
I don't understand. Doesn't a woman need to consent before I grab her chest?
No, I think there
No?
can be. When you're in a committed relationship, I do think that there can be aspects of like understanding each
Just
other's
not that
boundaries.
one?
Not when it comes to like
Why?
bodily integrity.
That's
no.
again
because
not consistent
cuddling
at
and
all.
having sex is different.
Yes,
cuddling
I
and sex-
understand that they're different, but why is the standard different? So the whole idea here is consent.
Because the degree, do you think someone being groped and someone being groped are equal in terms
Do you
of
think
trauma?
from an intersectional viewpoint
just
that
asked
all
you a
traumas,
question.
and I'm answering it, from an intersectional viewpoint, all traumas are not equal. Since all traumas are not equal, a poor
Correct.
woman who's getting her chest grabbed can be just as traumatized as a woman who's been penetrated, yeah?
I mean, obviously, it would depend on the person, but
Right.
no, I would say if you are penetrated, that violation of bodily integrity is always going
You
to be
can't
greater.
make a determination from an intersectional standpoint on trauma. Trauma for a woman who's been groped can be just as bad as a woman who has been penetrated. Yes or no?
No, I would always say the trauma from being penetrated is going to be.
Based on what? Just some arbitrary standard you made up?
Just because of how different your body is in terms of being violated internally versus touched.
Oh, I see. So
There's
not
lifelong damage
so
that
there's
can
not
come
a
with
single
that.
woman who's been penetrated, who's had less trauma than a woman who has been
I mean, you
essayed
tell
or
me,
violated.
you're making the claim.
I'm asking.
I
Didn't claim.
asked and answered.
How can I don't understand. What claim did I make?
You made the claim that everyone's trauma is going to
No,
vary.
I said
and
from an intersectional standpoint.
That's your.
Yes, from an intersectional standpoint,
where are you getting that from?
it's literally in intersectional literature that trauma
literature?
that trauma cannot be deduced as feminist standpoint theory.
Where?
You can find it in every university in the United States that teaches feminist classes. So in feminist standpoint theory, the claim is made that trauma, you cannot say one trauma is worse than another trauma. How could you do intersectionality if you believe that you could just do that arbitrarily? You can't. So if that's the case, you can't really make the claim, this trauma is worse than that trauma, because it's going to be dependent on the
It's going to
person.
be a higher degree.
Depending on the person. Yeah?
I think there can be obvious classifications.
Okay, but depending on the person, logically, this has to follow. It has to be dependent on the person. One trauma can be worse for them, or it can be less worse for them. Yes or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then
I mean,
that's
I've
complete
said
nonsense.
I've said the same.